There is a sacred moment that happens every morning. It is the moment your eyes open, your spirit awakens, and time greets you with the gift of a brand new day. But what most people don't realize is that how you respond to that moment sets the tone for everything that follows. In that first moment, when the veil of sleep is pulled back and consciousness returns, the most important decision you will make is whose voice you will listen to first. That decision will determine whether you walk in alignment or confusion, in peace or chaos, in purpose or distraction. The first voice you hear each day should be God's, not social media, not the news, not your emails, not even your own thoughts. Because before you allow the noise of the world to define your day, you must let the Creator of the world define you. Every single day is pregnant with potential. It is loaded with divine assignments, hidden opportunities, challenges that will test you, and doors that are waiting to be opened. But how can you walk into a day filled with divine purpose without first hearing from the one who designed the day? When you ignore the voice of God in the morning, you begin your day directionless. It's like walking out into a battlefield without a strategy, without armor, and without a commander. The morning is not just a time slot on your clock. It is a divine appointment, and what you do with it reflects what you value most. If God is truly your source, your sustainer, your provider, your guide, then how can you justify starting your day without Him? We have grown accustomed to rushing. We reach for our phones before we reach for truth. We chase information before we seek wisdom. We engage with the world before we engage with the Spirit, and then we wonder why anxiety greets us, why pressure mounts quickly, and why peace escapes us. The voice you start your day with is the voice that gets to set your expectations, your emotions, and your focus. If it's the voice of fear through news headlines and digital chaos, then fear will govern you. If it's the voice of comparison through social media and timelines, then insecurity will follow you. But if it is the voice of God, the one who created you, called you, and equipped you, then clarity, confidence, and calm will become your daily portion. God desires to speak to you more than you desire to hear Him. He does not hide His voice from those who seek Him early. The ancient wisdom says, "Early will I seek you." There's a reason for that. The morning is not just a time of day. It is a spiritual posture. When you seek God early, you are telling heaven and hell, "Before I consult with anyone else, I consult with the King." You are acknowledging your dependence on divine instruction. You are placing priority where it belongs, on the voice that brings life, not noise. That early moment becomes sacred ground. It becomes your altar before the world pulls you into its circus. The enemy knows that whoever speaks to you first owns your focus. That is why there is a war for your attention the moment you wake up. The spiritual realm does not sleep. When your eyes open, battles begin to move into formation. You must choose which army you will align with, the army of heaven or the army of confusion. The devil doesn't fear people who go to church on Sunday but ignore God Monday morning. He fears those who wake up with a sense of kingdom urgency and say, "Speak, Lord, I'm listening." The enemy fears a man or woman who gives God their first thoughts, first words, and first decisions of the day. Because that person is dangerous. That person becomes a channel of God's will in the earth. The voice of God is not always loud. It often comes as a whisper, a prompting, a nudge, a knowing in your spirit. And if you are too distracted, too busy, or too preoccupied, you will miss it. That's why the morning is crucial. It is the only time of day when you still have the power to set the tone. Once the noise of the day begins, it's harder to return to that stillness. So don't waste the stillness. Don't rush past the sacred. Don't allow routine to replace reverence. Begin your day with silence, with surrender, and with listening, because one word from God can save you from 1,000 mistakes. Your calling is too significant to be led by guesswork. Your future is too valuable to be shaped by confusion. You need the voice of the one who sees the end from the beginning. And the beautiful thing is, God is not silent. He still speaks. He speaks through His Word, through His Spirit, through impressions on your heart. But you must be present to hear Him. You must give Him space. The voice of God cannot compete with distractions. He waits for invitation. He waits for honor. The question is not, will God speak today? The question is, will you listen? Don't just pray in the morning, commune. Don't just talk to God. Wait for Him to talk back. Make room, clear the clutter. Let your mornings be drenched in expectancy. Set your heart before Him. Open the Scriptures and expect light to enter your spirit. Sing softly. Whisper your surrender, and then be still. Because something holy happens when you choose stillness over busyness. The atmosphere shifts, the heavens take notice, your spirit aligns, and God begins to download instructions that will shape how you speak, where you go, and what you focus on throughout the day. You see, God is a God of order. He doesn't bless confusion. He blesses those who seek His will. When you start your day with His voice, you position yourself for divine order. Things begin to fall into place, not because they are easy, but because they are aligned. Opportunities begin to find you, people are drawn to you, favor follows you, not because you manipulated your way into success, but because you aligned yourself with the source of it. Starting your day with God is not a religious ritual. It is a kingdom principle. Those who follow it walk in a level of clarity and power that others envy but cannot explain. You are not just a body with a calendar. You are a spirit with an assignment, and your assignment begins the moment your feet hit the floor. That is why the enemy tries to steal your morning. If he can steal your morning, he can steal your mindset. If he steals your mindset, he can steal your day. And if he steals enough days, he will steal your destiny. Don't give him that access. Protect your mornings like you protect your treasure, because your morning is your launch pad, and what you launch with determines where you land. Some of the greatest breakthroughs don't come in noisy places. They come in quiet rooms. They come in whispered prayers. They come in early mornings when no one sees you but God does. Don't underestimate the power of private obedience. What you do when no one is watching determines what heaven releases when everyone is. Wake up with a mission. Wake up with intention. Wake up knowing that heaven is waiting to speak. Don't keep the King waiting. There are doors you're praying for God to open, and He's trying to give you the key in the morning, but you're too busy scrolling. There are battles you're asking Him to fight, and He's trying to give you strategy in the quiet, but you're too distracted. There are ideas, businesses, books, solutions, and innovations that are trapped inside of you, and they can only be unlocked when your spirit is still enough to receive. The morning is when the dew of heaven rests upon you. It's when your spirit is most sensitive. Don't waste it. Let this be your commitment. Lord, I won't let another day begin without you. Before I hear from anyone else, I will hear from you. Before I look at what the world wants, I will seek what you want. Before I step into my to-do list, I will step into your presence. Before I speak to the world, I will listen to the whisper of heaven. That posture will shift everything, because when God speaks, confusion has to flee. When God speaks, anxiety must bow. When God speaks, direction is birthed. And when you hear Him first, you don't need to fear what follows. Let the first voice you hear every day be the voice that formed you in your mother's womb. Let it be the voice that knew you before time began. Let it be the voice that carries eternity. That voice will guide you when others mislead you. It will anchor you when emotions try to move you. It will lift you when life tries to bury you. That voice is not just for church. It is for every decision, every moment, every breath. And when you make it your priority to hear God first, you will never again live like you are lost. So tomorrow morning, when the light creeps through your window and your eyes open, pause. Don't reach for your phone. Reach for His presence. Don't check notifications. Check in with the Spirit and let that first voice guide you, ground you, and give you the grace to walk in purpose. Because the first voice you hear each day should be God's. You were never created to function outside of divine instruction. A human without God's voice is like a car without a steering wheel. moving but without direction. Every morning you wake up without consulting the voice of the Creator. You risk drifting into someone else's agenda. You step into your day reacting instead of ruling, but you were not made to react. You were made to govern. Dominion was placed in your DNA. You were designed to lead, not be led by the chaos of this world. And that kind of leadership begins with surrender, not striving. It begins with listening to the voice of the one who designed the blueprint of your life. Without that voice guiding you, you will misinterpret delays as denials, confusion as calling, and distractions as opportunities. And that's how people forfeit purpose, by ignoring the voice that clarifies it. The world is full of noise, and most of it is demanding. Every voice wants something from you. Your time, your energy, your agreement, your money, but God's voice is different. He doesn't demand, he invites. He calls you into alignment. He whispers peace into your confusion. He offers wisdom for your wandering, but he won't compete with the clutter. He speaks where honor is present. And when you honor him with the first moments of your day, you are giving him permission to sit in the driver's seat of your life. That is not just a spiritual act. It is a strategic one, because the most powerful decisions are not made in boardrooms. They are made in prayer closets. What you hear from God in secret will always determine what you conquer in public. When you don't prioritize the voice of God, your life becomes shaped by the loudest voice, not the truest one. And the loudest voice is often fear, comparison, doubt, or shame. That's why God's voice must be first. First in your heart, first in your schedule, first in your thoughts. Not because God is insecure, but because you are. You need his truth to anchor your mind before lies try to occupy it. You need his peace to saturate your emotions before chaos finds its way in. You need his wisdom to go ahead of you before decisions confront you. When you give God the first voice, he gives you the strength to silence the others. And in a world drowning in opinions, clarity is a rare gift. God doesn't want to be part of your day. He wants to be the beginning of it. He wants to be the foundation, not just an accessory. When he is the first voice, everything else begins to make sense. Things that once brought pressure now bring peace, because you see them through a kingdom lens. When you wake up and immediately enter his presence, the weight of the day does not feel so heavy, because you have already laid it at his feet. The enemy will try to make you believe that you're too busy to pray, too tired to read, or too distracted to worship. But that's the trap. He knows that if he can disrupt your connection to the source, he can manipulate your entire day. Sometimes God speaks early because he's trying to prepare you. He knows what you're about to face before you do. He sees the meetings, the traffic, the attitudes, the decisions, and the unexpected phone calls. He sees the spiritual battles forming in the unseen, and he wants to equip you. But if you don't listen, you walk into battles you weren't ready for. That's why the morning is not just about devotion. It's about defense. It's about strategy. It's about God handing you the spiritual weapons you'll need before the first challenge arises. If you listen closely in the morning, you'll hear him say, "Be slow to speak in that meeting," or "Don't respond to that message yet," or "This door looks good, but it's not from me." But you won't receive those instructions if the first voice you hear is your own stress, your own plans, or someone else's drama. So many people walk around spiritually dehydrated because they skip the well. The morning is your well. It is your time to drink from the river of life before the desert of the day begins. If you don't fill up in the morning, you'll find yourself running on empty by midday. That's why burnout is so common. It's not because the day is too hard, but because the soul was not prepared. Your soul needs nourishment. Your spirit needs fuel, and no amount of caffeine or motivation can replace what the voice of God provides. There are things that only his presence can fix, wounds that only his words can heal, and confusion that only his whisper can clear. Your relationship with God is not built on grand moments. It's built on daily obedience. It's not about shouting the loudest in worship on Sunday. It's about surrendering your attention on Monday morning. God is more impressed with consistency than charisma. He values routine moments of honor more than random bursts of emotional devotion. Wake up and choose consistency. Wake up and say, Lord, I am here again, not because I need something, but because I need you. That kind of pursuit touches heaven. That kind of hunger draws revelation. God meets those who make room for him, not just those who make noise about him. There's something sacred about the early hours of the day. When the world is still asleep, the heavens are awake. When the streets are quiet, the Spirit is speaking. That's when downloads come. That's when clarity flows. That's when ideas begin to rise in your spirit like the sun rising in the sky. Don't miss that window. Don't trade divine wisdom for digital distraction. Don't substitute eternal truth for temporary entertainment. One word from God in the morning can shift your entire week. One download from heaven can birth a business, heal a relationship, unlock an invention, or restore your sanity. People are searching for answers in all the wrong places because they never sit still long enough to hear from the source. But God is not playing hide and seek. He's waiting in the quiet. He's waiting in the stillness. He's waiting in the pages of His Word. He's waiting in your surrendered heart. He's waiting in that early hour when the sun hasn't yet risen, but your spirit has. And when you show up day after day, God begins to trust you with more. More insight, more instruction, more clarity. He doesn't give more to those who shout louder. He gives more to those who steward well what He already gave. The world celebrates hustle, but the kingdom celebrates obedience. The world pushes you to do more, grind more, achieve more. But the kingdom teaches you that fruitfulness comes from remaining connected to the vine, and that connection must be renewed every day. When you wake up and listen to God first, you are reconnecting to the vine. You are saying, I cannot produce today unless I remain in you. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, because the branch that tries to bear fruit on its own eventually withers. But the branch that draws life from the source flourishes even in drought. You weren't called to just survive the day. You were called to govern it. You were called to move with intentionality, with clarity, and with supernatural peace. But that cannot happen if you begin your day disconnected. God wants to go before you, walk with you, and speak through you. But He cannot lead if you do not listen, and He cannot fill if you are already full of everything else. Empty yourself in the morning. Pour out your worries, pour out your fears, pour out your plans, and then let Him pour in what you really need: wisdom, strategy, insight, joy, and strength. It is no coincidence that Jesus rose early to pray. The Son of God, who was full of power, still chose to begin His days by seeking the Father. If He needed it, how much more do we? If He valued the early hours, how dare we neglect them? There is a divine rhythm available to those who start their day in the presence of the King. Life won't always be easier, but it will be clearer. Challenges won't disappear, but you will face them with strength. Temptations won't vanish, but you'll have the discernment to walk away. Because when God's voice is first, His power follows. The voice you listen to first has the power to shape your thoughts, form your emotions, and steer your day. So make a decision, not tomorrow, not next week, but now, that from this moment forward, no voice gets to speak before God's voice speaks. No news, no notification, no trend, no text. Only the King, because His words are life, His words are light, His words are truth, and those who live by His words don't just exist. They reign, and if you will make it your holy habit to give God the first voice each day, watch what happens. Your mornings will become altars, your life will become aligned, your mind will become renewed, and your days will become led, not by chaos but by kingdom order, because when God is first, everything else finds its place. So I urge you today, not with emotion but with revelation, make a divine decision. Let God's voice be the first you hear every morning, not just on Sundays, not just when you're desperate, but every single day. Because your day is too valuable, your purpose is too significant, and your destiny is too great to begin it without divine direction. Don't allow your schedule to dictate your priorities. Let your priorities shape your schedule. Your future is not just shaped by what you do, but by who you listen to first. You cannot afford to keep starting your days empty, distracted, and directionless. You've been called to walk in power, to rule in wisdom, and to govern your life with peace. That only happens when the King speaks first. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm clock rings and the world starts calling, pause. Before you scroll, before you speak, before you move, listen. Invite the Creator of your soul to speak into your soul. Let heaven's voice silence the noise of the earth. Let his whisper become your compass. Because when God is your first voice, the enemy loses his influence. When God is your first voice, confusion has no authority. When God is your first voice, you stop chasing clarity and start walking in it. Let this be the day you reset the rhythm of your life. Let this be the hour you reclaim your mornings. Let this be the moment where everything changes, not because your circumstances shift, but because your source of instruction does. If you'll seek him first, you won't just have better days, you'll have a transformed life. And that life won't just impact you, it will impact generations. Let God speak first, and everything else will begin to speak less.